Is this your turning point? Are you having thoughts that you want to change something? You can tell that you've been putting up with something, work, relationships, other things, and you can just tell that, it's about time that something else happened. Welcome to the Being Connected podcast, the place you go to explore the journey of being human, being in the world, and also your spiritual being. I am your host, Anamia, and today is about making a new life. And maybe you don't want to change your whole life, but making changes to your habits, to your job, to your relationships at home, to your kids, to your partner, making a change. And you might be at a point right now where you don't know exactly how that change is going to look. Or stood in a position and you can tell that it's not good for you. You put up with it for quite some time, but now it's done. You can tell you don't want to do this anymore. You don't want to be treated this way anymore. You don't want to put up with people being condescending to you. You can tell that you are not a person that are accustomed to speaking your truth. And now is the moment where you need to do something else. So this episode is for you. Is this your turning point? So if you want to make some changes, and either if it's a great big change or if it's small habits you want to change in your everyday life, the thing you can come across is feeling overwhelmed. You can also feel that you don't really know where to start, or right now you just have a feeling. It's just a feeling that something is going to change. What am I going to change? How am I going to do it? How hard is it going to be? Am I going to lose everything I have? Everything I worked for? Is this the feeling you have? Just know that when you want to create something new, no matter how big or small, we need to clean and clear out the space. And that can sound very scary, and it can sound very overwhelming. You can also feel that you run into a state of lack. Am I going to miss out on the next paycheck? If you want to get a new partner or just be on your own, can you provide for yourself with the income you have? What kind of house do you need? Or all these different thoughts that we keep running through the brain all the time that we need to control. And to do that, I want to talk into the different kind of beings. So we have the human being experience. Right now, as a human being, these feelings can be the ones that you are having. How can I do this? Am I going to be able to quit my job? What if I want to move into an apartment to be on my own? Can I afford it? My car is broken up, and if I quit my job, I won't be able to get a new one. All these feelings are really in your human experience. And then on the other side, if you let that noise be and you step into your soul, your spiritual being, and if you sit with that, be quiet, breathe, center. What is it that really is important to you right now? And if it's an urge inside you, you are fed up with the job. Maybe you've been there for the last 5 or 10 years and it's the same darn thing every day, and it's sucks you dry of energy. So if you're fed up with that, you are in a position to do something else. So now you don't have to go into your human being experience and start being practical. How can I outline this for the best outcome? When you go to your spiritual being, just sit with it. You can take a pen and paper out and write down what is the most important thing to you right now. What is it your soul wants to do next? What is your soul calling you to do now? And that can be, I want to be in a job where I can speak the truth, and we can be co-workers, and we can have respect among each other. We have a fluid and very good communication. We are in a workplace where you come into work and you feel energized. Sounds nice. That's a nice job. So write that down if that is something you really want. So what your soul is calling you to do, maybe you just want to be free of it. Maybe it's not that important what you do next. Maybe it's important for you to stay in the job you have, but it's important to set the foot down and say, no, I am done with being treated this way. Whatever it might be you are experiencing on your job. And the third being is how you're being in the world. And with that, you can say no to your coworkers at work. But if you are dealing with narcissistic behavior, if you are dealing with a lot of condescending behavior, if you are not being respected and your work is not being respected or taken into consideration at meetings and stuff like that, where everybody come together but you're never being heard, make sure that if you see some of these behaviors in your environment, you have to decide, because this is not going to change. So if that is not going to change, are you willing to stay quiet, getting off at 4 and you are absolutely drained of energy and all the things that you were supposed to do for the evening, you are just not going to do because all your energy is out because your work is so exhausting. With the three beings, we have to see what is it in the world that we are up against, quote unquote, up against. Our human being experience can be super practical, and it's also in your human, you are going to be able to outline, make a plan, stay focused, stay committed, and then get one step at a time closer to your goal. So how do you know what goal that is? And maybe we shouldn't say gold, maybe we should say value. What value is it that you want in your life? Shift into the spiritual being. Breathe. Be quiet. What is it your soul says? What values come up during these quiet sessions with your soul? Write that down, because when you do this soul work and you come up with these different values, it's very easy to know when you go back into being in the world or being human. It's easy to see, does this exist within my values? And also it's super easy if you have a job and the company have 3 main values that they work out from. You can see that you have totally different values, will that ever come into alignment? Will you ever feel that you are fulfilled in your job when you are working for a company who does not have your values? You can go back and say, okay, is it important that my soul values align with the company? If you are working in a team with really good coworkers and colleagues and you fill up with energy every day, maybe it's not important that you align with the company values as long as the team you work in are aligned to your values. But you have to take the steps around in your life so that you can be aware of what is it that is not working for me. Maybe it's one person at your job that is creating a lot of tension, who is sucking you dry from energy every day. And what kind of behavior does this person have? Is it narcissistic behavior? Is it a wounded person? Some people are having so much trauma inside that they are not able to go through a workday without bleeding on everybody. So that's a thing to be aware of. Okay, so am I supposed to hold space for this person? Is it in my place to maybe connect to this person? And that is also something to do with being in the world. What is your position in a workplace? Are you supposed to hold space for coworkers? Can you get in a position where you can kindly always do everything from the place of kindness, I think. And yes, if you are dealing with their narcissistic behavior or a lot of ego or also a lot of trauma, there's always a reason for that. And maybe your voice are not being heard in a setting like that. But you know that pretty fast if what you bring to the table has any value. And if it's not something that is being heard, you can tick that box and know that this is not the environment for you, and then you can pull out. And maybe here is where you think, I need to get a new job. Maybe that is tickling in you getting that new job, or maybe getting some new friendships. And I do this value within my human being and my soul being. What values are important to me? We are in March in 2025, and for sure there is new things on the horizon. And it's not even on the horizon, it is here. So if you can tell you've been a little more sleepy in January and February, just know that you have been receiving downloads. Your human being and your soul has been receiving downloads from the oneness, the universe. If you are into astrology, you can know that the planets are lining up in a formation that we have not seen for thousands of years. And what this means, without going into too much astrology, just know that when planets, they go direct and they go retrograde, they go back in the same line that they just passed. That can mean something for you. So where these planets are in your chart right now and which house they are in, it will affect different areas of your life. And even though you don't know anything about this, it's happening still. A lot of people are talking about this also here online and on YouTube. And it just means for you that there are new things coming in for you. So if you can feel that urge, but you still feel a little scared, or maybe you just don't want to change, or it feels too hard, get in a position where you can sit with it. Get out of that human being experience, go to your soul being, sit with that, outline your values in your life. When you want to change something, be aware that you will have the first thought, which can be, no, this is too hard. I don't have the money. What am I going to do? Nobody can use me in a new job. I am too old. I am too young. I am too unexperienced. Whatever your thoughts are. That is your amygdala, which is the word for the reptile brain, which is the oldest part of our brain. So it's really normal. It happens to all humans. And this is a human experience. So we think of doing something new, and then we get the next thought. No, you can't do that. You don't know anything about that. You can't do that. And that can be one part. Also, the being in the world, you can have your surroundings telling you, you can't do that. You don't have the skills to do that. So maybe you don't tell yourself that, but you have relationships around you who tells you what you are not able to do. Be aware of that, because this is contagious and you want to remove that away from your life. So going back to the amygdala, when your amygdala, the reptile brain, says, no, go back into your cave, this is actually a safety system that the brain does all the way back to the caveman. We had to stay in the pack to survive. We could go outside hunting for food and we could get killed. But the amygdala is really something who is going to tell you, no, you don't want to do that. That is too dangerous. So don't do that. And be aware of that, and knowing this is not you battling yourself. Well, you can say that it is, but it is the amygdala going off again and again. No, don't do that. Just take notice. Then say to yourself, yes, but I want to do this. I want to have better habits. I want to move into an apartment for myself. I want to get a new job. I want to get a dog. I have a lot of conversation with clients, and they all say the same in different contexts. And it all comes down to that I always get into this position where I really don't feel that I can do it, and I have negative thoughts and I don't feel strong. And maybe that's just me because I see everybody else is able to do that. No, it's very human, and it's the amygdala taking the piss. And when we know that, if you live in a safe part of the world, you know that you can go to work without being eaten by a tiger. No, you are not alone. This is not something that is super special designed just for you. Every human experiences this in some degree. When you push on your limits and get out of your comfort zone, you might have heard this. When you move out of your comfort zone, when you move out of your normal routines and your habits, this can bring in new destructive thoughts. Just know that. Yes, thank you, amygdala. I heard you, but I know that I'm in a position to say this morning at the meeting with my boss that this is going to end, or I'm going to hear what are the options for me getting into another position because my team doesn't work for me. You are moving out of your comfort zone, and for some you can actually feel that in your body. Maybe you start to sweat. Maybe you can feel you have a heart rate going up, your pulse is rising, and you can connect that to anxiety. This is you being in a position where you're moving out of your comfort zone, and that has some type of consequence. And for some of you, it feels really bad. You can feel it physically in your body. This is bad. It can also be that your brain is running away with you. The monkey inside your brain is just running around screaming, hammering on all the windows. And what it means is you are not at the moment very good at this exercise. So take notice, breathe, and take smaller steps. If you are afraid of snakes, for instance, and I came in with the largest snake I can find, and I just gave it to you right there, you would be panicking, you'd be in a state of fear, you'd be sweating, screaming, you would be in a worse state. But if we took it in smaller steps, it's just a little one. It's not toxic, it can't do anything to you. And I was bringing it 3 feet away from you, and I was just holding it. You can see that this is not a dangerous snake. You can see the behavior. You're watching the snake's behavior. You're watching how I handle it. You can see that you can connect to some sort of control where you could actually be in a position to handle this little snake. So that's also in life. When you want to do something, maybe don't do it drastically if you are not used to changing like that. As a manifester, I do that. I get bored with something I do, and then I shift. I do something else. This podcast is my new project, my new 2025 startup. So for me, I want to do something else, and then I do that. I don't get that physical or that emotional towards it, but I do hear in my surroundings, not my family and my close friends, they know I'm like that. I have always been like that. But I get it from clients and people who are further out. So why can you do that? What do you know that somebody else is not doing right now? Whatever, doesn't matter. But you don't have to do it in a huge jump, because that can be so scary that you get so overwhelmed and the monkey is out there. So take smaller steps. And what can a smaller step look like? Back to the snake example. With the big snake, you want to go there. Start with the little one. Start with connecting with people who know something about snakes, who can tell you how this is going to work out and what feelings do you have, or this is how you handle a snake so you stay safe. I think that's a pretty good reference to have if you are scared of snakes, but you want to get better at that. There is a saying that you can't eat an elephant in one piece, but you can eat it one piece at a time. And that's true. So take the huge situations and boil it down to small steps. Also know that knowledge is the pre-runner for your experience. This is super important to know. A lot of people try and go out and do something and they miss out because they didn't plan it, they didn't outline it, they didn't prepare themselves in any of the places of being. And then they just stood there going, oh, okay, this is not what I expected. You can do that. No worries. You can do that if you feel like that. If you want to have it a little more safe and you know what you're doing, Look at your spiritual being, do the values. What is it that is important? And then you see, how is this in the world, my being in the world, my relationships, my partners, my friends, whatever, people around you, do they support you or do they put you down? Because if you want to change, but you keep hearing from your parents, your partner, your kids, your best friends, no, that's not for you. You don't have the skills. Excuse me? When you wanna go and do something new, yes, you might not have the skills at the moment. You want to do something else because right now you are not connecting with anything in your life that aligns with your values. So, I usually say, if you have an Instagram account and you are new on Instagram, would you call up your grandmother and ask her for advice? I think it's a good example because you would probably say, no, of course I wouldn't call my grandmother. She has got nothing to do with Instagram. She cannot help me in any way. Okay, so let me say this to you. If you have a partner or friend or your parents, they have done whatever they do and they have not done what you are considering doing, why would their opinion matter to you? Don't ask people for advice if they don't know anything about it. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you go ask all your friends who are doing normal jobs, what do you think about me being an entrepreneur? How can you make money? How are you gonna have that safety net? What about the pension? What if you get sick? Can you run a store or can you run an online business? Why would you ask a person in a day job whether or not they can approve that you want to be an entrepreneur? Maybe you should go find an entrepreneur that does what you think is interesting. Then you can see, what is this person doing? Can I have a conversation with this person? Reach out, send an email. Many people will help you out. But seeing what is it you want to create in this world, what aligns with your values. If somebody else is doing it before you, watch and learn, observe what is it they do, and then do that. When you are listening to people who are not doing that, you are not getting the proper knowledge, you are not getting the proper advice, and you are for sure not getting the support that you need. So find people who are doing what you want to do and then connect with them. Remember, knowledge is the pre-runner for your experience. So make sure that the knowledge you get is the knowledge you want to get. I hope that makes good sense. So when you go back to your human experience, you will outline. I call this outline. I do this with everything I do. I plan and I set up. I will see how big of a goal is this, or how big of a value is this for me? Am I able to do this the next week, or is this gonna take me the next couple of years? And in my business, I have gone from having lots of one-on-one clients, and I wanted to create 100% online business. I am a manifester and I have rest phases and they come in like that. I need to rest, to recharge, to connect with my values, and then I'm building up to do the next big project. What I have done so far in my life has been building something great, making good money, having lots of my value, then I go into rest. When I was younger, my rest phases were only 3-4 months. That's a little worrying when you have to use all your savings for paying for these rest phases. And then when I nearly couldn't do it anymore, I need to pull myself out of the rest phase and then go back to some type of work. Now, as I'm older, I am creating bigger things all the time. My last rest phase was over a year, and that was a long time. I was learning about human design a few years back, and that really changed my position. And just reading through my design going, no way, this is me, what? And knowing this about myself has done that. The knowledge I gained from knowing my chart, and you can do this as well. You can go into ahumandesign.com and type in your information. That is your name, that is your email, so you can receive your chart. It's totally free. And you need your date of birth and the time of birth as well, and which city you were born in. And when you get your chart, you will see stuff in there where you go, huh. Then you can go into YouTube, or you can connect to the person doing the human design charts, and then you can know more about your specific design, which is specific to you. So knowing my design as a manifester was so important. And then because of the knowledge I gained from seeing all this knowledge and information in my chart, I went, okay, so this is a thing. Also, my experience have told me that this is a thing, but now I can plan for it because I know that I have rest phases. I don't have engines to build me up. I don't have the engagement to just push and push. It's so hurtful for me to do that, and I just won't do it. I can plan when I'm building my online universe, where you can get the journaling guides, you can get the online courses, everything around teach me how to plan. And this can be planning for a new job, planning for a new life, planning to do something that you haven't done before. How do I plan? And this is what I do in my online business. And when I have rest phases, I can rest and I still have income. So this is the first time in my life I have actually been able to plan even smarter. So this is why I say knowledge is your pre-runner for your experience. Knowing this about yourself in your human life, you need to plan. Are you good at change? Yes, no, okay. What is it you want to change? Yes, no. Are you in a bad position right now in your human experience? Are you in a bad position? Maybe you are a young person staying at mom and dad's and things are getting more and more narrow back home, and you really need to get your own place. But maybe you don't have the money. Maybe you're not very experienced with handling money, so you live from paycheck to paycheck. That's also a thing. And maybe that is true for any of you listening, that you live from paycheck to paycheck. And if that is the case, yes, you might be in a position right now where you need to take that job and work the hours to get the money. But what you do need also is knowing, when can I exit this job? Having a plan for what am I going to do with the money I earn at that job that I really do not like. But that's also life. You can be in a position where you have to work a job that you don't like, but make damn sure that you are saving that money up. Connect with a person who knows how to do that with money. So maybe you are right now not in a position where you can pick and choose everything. No, but then work your job and know how to exit. If you know I'm having this job for 6 months, then I will have saved up all this amount of money. Where can I live to get my own place? Is it important that I have a big apartment, big expensive apartment, or is it better that I can maybe share an apartment with a few other young people so that my expenses is coming down? That's also a thing. Don't let the ego want to get the big car and the big huge apartment, because if this doesn't align with your values, it's going to crack you at some point. Also, you will put yourself in a position where you have so many expenses that you cannot quit your day job. Because if you want to quit your day job to do something else, there will be a period of time where you might not earn the same amount of money. But you have giant cars, big house, big and expensive habits, wine, dining, traveling. And this is nice stuff. You can for sure do that, but not right now. If you are in a position where you want to go from this to this, go back to the values. I want to have my own place. I need to get out of the house from my parents, and I need to create something for myself. Good. Create that for yourself. Work that job, save up the money, lowering your expenses, maybe by moving in with other people, sharing facilities so that it's not that expensive just to get out of your house. That would be step number one. Because if you keep going around in the same circle, and every time we get into the first of the month, you are out of money again. You are never going to get out of the house. I have this little advice. If you are very prone to getting paid the first in the month every month, how many days do we have in a year? 365, right? Okay, so how many of the 365 days are paydays? 12? Okay. Are you living for the 12 days a year out of 365? Is not a lot. And if this is something that you strive for right now, consider sitting with your spiritual being, breathing, and writing down your values. It will get you more unstuck, also feeling that you can get into a more positive state. I just want to thank you for listening. This is it for this episode today. Thank you for joining me at the Being Connected podcast. Stay connected, stay curious, and stay focused on what really matters to you.